Hey everyone, we are going to be starting a new section here, basically progressing right from feudalism into the Middle Ages. Today's topic is going to be the rise of Islam. Most of the Arabian Peninsula is a desert. You can see a picture of the Arabian Peninsula on this slide here. Because it's a desert, they had intense heat and blinding sandstorms. And really, the only water could be found at an oasis. An oasis is a green area that's fed by underground water. Here's an example of what you would find if you were just dropped in the middle of the Arabian Peninsula, basically sand for as far as you can see. This is an example of a sandstorm. A sandstorm can actually be deadly because if you get caught in the middle of this, you go to breathe, and instead of breathing in air, you breathe in sand. That sand fills your lungs, and you actually suffocate. So sandstorms can be very dangerous. And this is an example of an oasis. It basically looks like a pond or a lake in the middle of the desert. The mountainous region in the southwest part of the Arabian Peninsula gets enough rain for plants to live. So this is going to be where most of the Arabs are going to form clans at that time period. A clan would be people related by family and tribes who were loyal to one another. The leader of these tribes was known as a sheik. Bedouins were desert herders. They would move camels, goats, and sheep from one oasis to the next, and they would live in tents and eat dried fruit and nuts. Most of the villages and towns were in the mountains or near an oasis, just simply because you have to have access to water. You cannot survive in the middle of the desert. Merchants would travel across the desert transporting goods. A group of traveling merchants and animals is called a caravan. The largest and richest trade town was Mecca. The reason that it was so wealthy was because it was a crossroads for merchants. Basically, to get from one point in the Arabian Peninsula to another, you pretty much had to go through Mecca. It was also the holiest place in Arabia as well, and we're going to talk about why that is on the next few slides here. In the middle of Mecca is the Kaaba. The Kaaba is the first house built for people to worship Allah. Inside of the Kaaba is a stone that is believed to have fallen from heaven. And you can see the picture of that stone here on this slide. Today it is locked inside the Kaaba, and you are not allowed to touch it or anything anymore because of its significance. But it's basically this really, really large black stone. In 570, Muhammad was born in Mecca. He was raised by his grandfather and then his uncle. He worked a pretty standard job as a caravan leader. He was married and he had children. But despite his success, he was unhappy. He believed that the wealthy should honor their families, they should be fair, and they should help the poor. In 610, Muhammad went to meditate in the hills. While he was meditating, he was visited by an angel and he was told to preach Islam. Islam means surrendering to the will of Allah. Allah is Arabic for God. So Muhammad traveled to Mecca where he would preach Islam. He told people to destroy statues of false gods. He also said that all people were equal and that the rich should give to the poor. Muhammad said that wealth was not nearly as important as leading a good life. So it didn't matter how much money you had. Money would not get you into heaven. Instead, you had to just live a good life where you look out for others. Mecca at this time was not a very wealthy city overall. I know that we just said that they were super wealthy from trade, but that wealth just went to like a really small group. The majority of Mecca was very, very poor. Would they like the message that Muhammad is preaching? You better believe they would. If you are poor and this person is out there preaching that the rich should give to the poor, that means you would benefit from that. So the majority of Mecca loves what Muhammad is saying. He said that God would reward good people and punish evildoers. The wealthy, obviously, then did not like Muhammad's message because they don't want to give up their money. They don't want to give up what they've worked for. So they would start to beat and torture followers of Islam. A follower of Islam is a Muslim. And I hear people still mess this up all the time. Islam is the religion. A Muslim is someone that practices Islam. So Christianity is a religion. A Christian is the follower. Judaism is the religion. A Jew is the follower. Muhammad and his followers would leave Mecca because of all the violence, and they would move to the city of Yathrib. Muhammad was welcomed in this new city, and they renamed it Medina, which means city of the prophet. Muhammad would create an Islamic state. He would require Muslims to be loyal to the state above their tribe. He also created an army, and they conquered Mecca and made it the holy city of Islam. 2 years after this, Muhammad died. Really quick, I think this is a pretty cool picture. This shows the Kaaba, and it's super, super small in here. But if you can see my cursor, this is the Kaaba. It's like a large black box, and I know it looks tiny in this picture, but this mosque is like a giant football stadium almost. And all of these, they almost look like bricks or pebbles or something on this picture, but that is all people, because there's a couple times throughout the year where Muslims are encouraged to make a pilgrimage to Mecca, so they just completely pack this place. Like Jews and Christians, Muslims believe in one God, and they believe that that one God holds all power and created the universe. You must obey God's laws in order to be blessed in your afterlife. Muslims also believe that God spoke to people through prophets. Jesus is seen as a prophet, just like Muhammad. So Jesus does exist in Islam. He just exists in a different way. So instead of being the son of God, he is just seen as a prophet, much like Muhammad. The messages that Muhammad received from Allah were written down in the Quran. The Quran is the holy book of Islam. And there's a variety of ways that you might see the Quran spelled. You might see it with an apostrophe in the middle. You might see it spelled Koran. There's a couple different ways. But if you sound it out, I think you can figure out that it's the Quran. The Quran instructs Muslims on how they should live. Many of the teachings are similar to the Bible. Some examples are show kindness, give to the poor, and murder, lying, and stealing are all forbidden. Really quick, just to go on a mini rant, this is one of the things that I think is ridiculous. A lot of times on the news, you'll see where there are like Islamic terrorists and things like that. Nowhere does Islam promote violence. The people that are the terrorists are just idiots, and they're using it as an excuse. People murder other people all the time in the United States, and you don't hear on the news that this Christian terrorist or this Jewish terrorist. The big misconception is that a lot of these terrorists are doing this because they are Muslim. They're doing it because they're crazy and they're idiots. It has nothing to do with their religion. Hopefully you're going to see as we move through this chapter that there are so many similarities between Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. Some more examples of what the Quran says: that Muslims should not eat pork, they should not drink or gamble, and that Muslims are expected to fulfill the 5 pillars of Islam. Does this mean that all Muslims don't eat pork or don't drink liquor or do any of these things? No. Christians aren't supposed to sin, but they do. You're just encouraged to not do these things. The 5 pillars of Islam, and we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about each of these individually. The first one is belief. Muslims must declare that there is no other God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. Prayer. Muslims are expected to pray 5 times a day facing toward Mecca. Charity. This one's simple. Give to the poor. Fasting. You cannot eat from dawn to dusk during the month of Ramadan. And I've had some students in past years that do this, so I've discussed it with them, and it's a pretty cool thing to talk about. But it's crazy because you have to get up so early to eat like a big breakfast. Then you go all day with no food, and you can't eat again until the sun goes down. And then finally, pilgrimage. You are encouraged to visit Mecca once in your lifetime if you're able to. So if you have the money, if you're not, physically incapable of doing it, you're encouraged to make that trip one time in your life. That is it for the notes on the rise of Islam.